Hey guys, Big P. So I realized I kind of messed up in the future where you kind of want to use Sorbin's ultimate to give additional energy and turns to Hyacinth instead of Evernight. So Hyacinth can give you a ridiculous amount of additional new buff for Castorice mains. If you're still going to be running Evernight main DPS, then you do want to make Evernight have a lot more energy and cast her ultimate as fast as possible, right? So just a little bit of a heads up. Hey guys, Big P. So this is probably going to be my second last video for this early access server. I have one more little surprise that I kind of just saved up for the future, where we are going to be going through every single possible zero cycle that I'm going to be configuring with my current setup, which is going to include all the way from E0 S0 Sorbin, E1 S0 Sorbin, as well as later on an E2 S0 Sorbin, 3 different zero cycles each, so that's a grand total of 9 zero cycles. And then at the very end, I'll just showcase a E6 Sorbin zero cycle against a Novi King, just as a gist of how her E6 is going to be able to perform, right? So for all of the builds as well as costs, I'll be leaving them up in this little table over here. So if you guys want to use this for your own references or any builds, just feel free to take a screenshot over here, and that will be our cost, right? So very first, and that is going to be our E0 S0 Sorbin. We are going to be using the team of Ashblade, Himeko, as well as Double King featuring Saber as well as Gilgamesh in the very same Memory of Chaos 12 rotation, which is the one that we're currently playing right now on the live server. Alright, so this is going to be the very first zero cycle against the current MOC 12 Sam, which I feel this is probably one of the more easiest bosses to zero cycle because Sam himself actually doesn't really do that much damage, and the very first wave also doesn't really do that much damage as seen from the Feather Bomb Bomb. The more annoying part is just going to be this particular sword right here, which is going to be seen from this guy, right? You do need to try and break his toughness bar, because if you do not break his toughness bar, then he's going to be taking a substantially reduced amount of damage. So units like Ashville as well as even Tribi, which does have quantum weakness toughness bar damage, is going to be really good for this dragon over here. So for the very first wave, it's actually relatively straightforward. I am going to essentially play this out the very same way I played this out in the live demonstration for endgame performance, but this time I'm going to be using an E0S0 Sorbin instead of a E0S1, just to show you guys how this sustainless run with E1 Tribi is going to be looking like. And you can see our damage from this team is going to be very high. Similar to the previous run the other time, I'm going to be saving my Sorbin ultimate after Ashville casts his ultimate so that we can get the maximum amount of action value as well as energy regeneration from Sorbin, so that will just give us the highest amount of benefits, right? Then Sorbin instantly pulls out my Ashville. Blade is going to be able to let go of his follow-up attack, which this time is going to be stacking a lot faster because we are going to be running E1 Tribi with an increased follow-up attack frequency, right? So you can see the dragon over here is just pretty much going to be dying very soon, and then with one little hit from Tribi, one little hit from Blade, and that is pretty much gonna be our relatively straightforward zero cycle wave 1. I am just gonna be opting for a base attack here because that will also get us a kill. Instantly jumping into Sam, let go of my ultimates as soon as possible. Then ideally, once our Tribi follow-up as well as the Bird goes in, Ashville will then perfectly get the energy for his ultimate, and then this is gonna come all the way down to Sam, and we're just gonna do absolutely insane amounts of damage against this 2.5 million using an E0S0 E0S1 Ashville, which is still going to be really considerable. Then Blade is just going to continue on doing the follow-up attack things, which is going to be the original synergy between Ashville as well as Blade himself, right? So now it's just going to level his ultimate, big damage, and then the vibes are going to reset from down to 25, which is going to be completely fine because we're going to be building back our vibes extremely fast. And you can see this entire time, Sam pretty much barely even touch us at all for a relatively straightforward zero cycle. One more Tribi DDD will push out my Blade for one more turn, and then Blade is going to let go of his enhanced skill into an ultimate, and that will pretty much almost get us the zero cycle. Okay, I went for the basic instead just to keep it a little bit safe. Tribi goes for the follow-up, and then the moment Sam casts his attack on one more of our guys, okay, didn't hit Azure is going to be fine. Then Bird goes in, and that will be our zero cycle. Really straightforward for the very first E0 Azure showcase. And like I mentioned, I personally think Ashblade is going to be one of the strongest possible combinations, especially at a full E0 setup. So gears are going to be shown right here. Using the attack rope Ashville with attack boots, because Sorbin will be giving us the action value and energy. Then Tribi is going to be our classic E1 S0, and then Blade is just going to be the good old-fashioned speed boots as per usual, right? So this entire team is probably the lowest cost between the E0S1s as well as full E0s. So that is pretty much it for our first zero cycle. Alright, the next zero cycle is going to be done using our E0S1 Himeko with our E4 Well Yang, E0S0 Sorbin, as well as a sustainless run featuring our E0S0 Blade, right? So this time we're going to be taking up this boss against the second half, and that is going to be, not second half, sorry, third half, Note 3 against Evo Sam. I think I did this exact same demonstration just now on the actual guide itself, but I'm just going to be going through this here again because it is a very similar setup, right? So for this particular run right here, we are going to be applying our Well-Yang ultimate, just giving us as much damage as possible for wave 1, but almost every single time, your wave 1 is definitely going to die way too fast, especially in a sustainless setup. So the moment you let go of a Himeko ultimate, you should try to intentionally slow down your damage so that you can actually enter into Evo Sam with a little bit more energy so that you can cast your ultimates a lot more frequently, right? So now this is going to come in. We are going to just go in for our, I believe, our basic so I can store a little bit more damage. Okay, I didn't go for the basic right there, but later on, I will definitely be going for my basic. Okay, I guess that I just didn't do that. Nonetheless, right, ideally, if you are going to be going into wave 2 too fast, then you should try to slow down your damage so that you can basically charge your ultimate. But I guess we didn't even do it, so that's pretty much going to be that. Bird is going to chump in, and I'm basically saving my Well-Yang ultimate after he summons the box right here. So the moment we choose Himeko, instantly activate my Well-Yang ultimate to apply our weightless debuff so that Himeko can do the highest possible amount of damage. At the same time, also giving us a little bit more stacks for vibes for attack as well as defense down buff, right? Then right here, Himeko is just going to let go of all of our ultimates for the, usual Himeko ultimate things. Big damage, and then this bounce is, if it's going to be lucky enough, we can kill every single of those bounce right here. That is very good. So we did get a super nice amount of damage, which instantly places Sam in the weakened state for the additional vulnerability. And at this point, it's just very straightforward. Just going for the additional turn. Sobin is going to give us the action very advanced, and then we are going to continue on dealing as much damage as possible with our Ashblade just helping us out over here. Goes in for the ultimate, and then we're going to go in for another assist skill, and finally our vibe is going to reset. And you can see just now, right, our overall vibes with Himeko is definitely not going to be as fast, especially using an E0 Himeko, but the amount of damage we're doing over here is still going to be absolutely enough right here. So goes one more hit. I'm basically stalling for the birds, right, just to hit a little bit more so we can get a little bit more vibes. And then one last Himeko ultimate should be able to get us the Zero Cycle against our Evo Sam, which is gonna pretty much wrap up this second Zero Cycle showcase. The cost for this team, I believe it is around the same ballpark as our first team, but it can be shown right here. I can't really exactly remember, right? So this is gonna be our Himeko gears with our E0S1. Then Well-Yang is gonna be running the good old-fashioned 4-piece Eagle with E4, E0S0 Sobin with Amphorius, and then our E0S1 Blade right here, right? So that is gonna be our second Zero Cycle. Now, moving on to our last E0S0 Sobin Zero Cycle, this time is going to be featuring one of my favorite teams that I've actually tried on the early access server, and that is the Double King combination featuring Saber as well as Gilgamesh. I believe this was an 8-cost team featuring our E1 Gilgamesh, still running sustainless with Ashblade as well as Sobin, right? We are going to be doing this against our very first Memory of Chaos 12. As you guys can see so far from all of our runs, we have been doing them with a sustainless, because Sobin without a sustain, even though you will not get your grooves, as well as slightly slower vibe generation, it is going to be completely fine because you are going to be able to deal a significant amount of damage using this team, right? So now Sobin is going to be able to get ourselves Fever, which gives us damage vulnerability as well as having a decent amount of defense down. So your goal right now using both Saber and Gilgamesh is to get rid of the Memory Zone meme Shell of Fatal Rage, because Saber cannot deal any toughness bar damage whatsoever. So for this particular fight, you need to try and hold your damage until at least Gilgamesh can come in for a hit over here so that we can get ourselves the punch on the dragon, right? But unfortunately, we didn't really have quite enough damage or energy from my Gilgamesh, so I kind of have to let go of my Saber ultimate as well as Ashblade's ultimate right now so that Gilgamesh himself can let go of his energy, right? Joint attack is going to come in, and then this ultimate will instantly take away the dragon, right? So if not for this particular enemy, it will be a lot more straightforward, because just because of the toughness bar, it was just really annoying for Saber. Luckily for Standalone Hunter Sam, this fight was actually a lot easier because, like I mentioned, Sam himself does not actually deal too much damage, right? So this might be a little bit more of a scary situation, especially if your wave 1 took too much damage, so you need to reset. But Sam himself just really deals a lot lower. Then from this point on, you can see how both Saber as well as Gilgamesh having the benefits of Sobin's defense reduction as well as vulnerability. Both of them gets the buffs alongside with Ashblade stacking down additional defense down and vulnerability for a very synergistic duo for both Gilgamesh and Saber. Then for this boy, kind of need to grind RNG a little bit. Luckily, we did not get here, so that's very, very nice. Gilgamesh is just gonna go in and deal as much damage as possible. So right here, we are gonna pop in our skill. Blade is just gonna be able to let go of his skill right here, and we will instantly pull up our Sobin on Gilgamesh instead of Saber, because after I pull up Gilgamesh, I can let go of one more Gilgamesh ultimate, which can then allow my Saber to let go of one more Saber ultimate, and that final joint attack will then be triggered right here to get us a very, very nice Zero cycle, right? So that is pretty much the cook for our Double King combination. Honestly, a very, very fun team to play if you can deal with this sustainless situation. Of course, if you cannot do this sustainless, then you kind of have to drop either Emblade or Sobin for a Hyacinth or DHPT sustain, right? So this is going to be E0S1 Saber alongside with a E1S1 Gilgamesh, E0S0 Sobin, as well as a E0S1 Blade, right? So that is pretty much all of our Zero cycles. I'll now be moving on into the E1S0 Sobin, so I have one more cost of Sobin, just using a 3 completely different teams so that you guys can see what to expect when running her in your journey. Alright, so this next team is going to be featuring our Mimo Slop Castorice, Evernight, as well as Hyacinth using our E1S0 Sobin. For this particular run, because I'm trying to keep things a little bit lower of a cost, I'm going to be opting without our E2 Cyrene, but we're still going to be running our E2S1 Castorice with E1S1 Evernight, essentially brute forcing our very first stage against Memory Zone Meme as well as Firefly Sim. I would say for Memory of Chaos 12, the very first note, because there just really isn't too many difficult mechanics to deal with, it is essentially a massive DPS check. I feel this can be a very good exercise just to see how much damage your team can actually deal, especially if you're going to be up against either on element or off element scenarios. Like previously, Saber was completely off element, but we still dealt enough damage to clear the HP check, right? So from this particular point, so you can kind of just see later on over here, Sobin's ultimate will be entirely reserved for Evernight, but for this move, I accidentally clicked the wrong button. At first, that was what I thought, but then I realized because I went for the Castorice basic, I can actually store my damage a little bit more, such that the rest of my team does in fact get a little bit more energy, right? So in hindsight, that was a mistake that I actually did prefer ended up making anyways. So Pollux is gonna come in right here, so the moment my Evernight is gonna let go of her skill, we can immediately pull her back up using our Sobin right here, right? So we're gonna let this go, and you can still hear I actually did not went for the Sobin ultimate because I was thinking to myself, if I can store enough damage such that the birds as well as Hyacinth can get a kill, or maybe even Castorice, I can then generate even more energy charge for the next wave. But that is going to be exactly what's going to be happening right here, which unfortunately we didn't really manage to wait for Hyacinth's turn, but at least we did save up a little bit more energy on our end, right? Then immediately popping over the Sobin ultimate so that we can instantly charge up for our Evernight. Then Evernight is just going to continue on summoning her Eevee, summoning her little Mimo Sprite, dealing a little bit more damage. Keep in mind, our main DPS from this team is still mainly coming from Castorice itself, but this is also where with our E1 Sobin, we are going to be dealing way more damage using our little birds. You can see just now there was a 485k nuke, and this damage will just eventually start scaling on higher and higher the more damage our entire team is going to be doing. Very similar to like how E1 Tribute is going to be working in combination with our Cypher mechanic, right? So if all this damage that we're going to be dealing with all of our dragons, all of our Mimo Sprite, it is being recorded by the Birb. So you can see this next hit from the Birb is going to be leading up to a very, very nice amount. I believe it was a... Let's see over here. That is gonna be, we went from a 487k Birb damage to a 991k, essentially doubling over time. So the longer this fight goes on and the more damage you can feed to Sobin's Birds, this true damage tally is gonna be adding up super nicely, right? So this is gonna continue, and because we are gonna be using our Mimo Sprite team, there is almost a zero issue maintaining close to 50 vibes for the entire fight itself. So the rest of the fight is just a very, very hard HP check for our entire team, just to see if we can deal enough damage right here. So Hyacinth unfortunately ran out of the buff, but it's going to be okay because we do have enough for Castorice to just let go of this dragon immediately. I did not let go of Hyacinth's ultimate there because I want to get a little bit more charge after using my Castorice dragon, which you guys can see in just a second right here. So the moment this dragon expires, we'll activate our Hyacinth ultimate. There's going to be 12% HP remaining. Pop on the ultimate. This is going to come down, give us a heal, and you can see my Castorice new butt is going to be stacking on very nicely. Bird is going to go in for another 890,000, and at this point, if I didn't have enough damage for Evernight, I would definitely kill, but if I did have enough, then this is going to be our Zero cycle using our E1 as Zero Sobin, right? So the cost is going to be shown right here. It is a moderately high cost remembrance, so if you guys have skipped Cyrene and you want to go for a little bit more cost for Sobin, you can definitely consider that to be your situation as well, right? So that's going to be our gear. Evernight running the classic HP roll into crit damage, damage, so all-in damage for Evernight, and that's gonna be our E1S0 Sorbin for our first E10 cycle. Alright, this next cycle needs no introduction, and that is going to be Mr. Ice Elation. I still remember using my Phainon against this boss back in my live server where we had a E0 Phainon's final 0 cycle, where we literally tried so hard against this evil Firefly, but this time we do have the power of E2 Cyrene, E2 Phainon, as well as our E1 Sorbin. So let's just see how much damage our Phainon is actually going to be able to deal with his entirely brand new teammates, right? So the way that this team works with Phainon is that the moment you do get yourself the steps with Cyrene, because we do have the E2, we can let this go right here. So for the rest of the fight, it's actually super straightforward. You essentially just want Phainon to EQ, 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 or rather EW most of the time if you're going to be more than 3 targets. But for the later portion with Evil Firefly, you kind of want to let Phainon taunt him up so that you save a little bit more action value such that he can place you in that particular state to deal the bugs as soon as possible, right? The rest of the stuff over here, phase 1 is just very straightforward like any Phainon gameplay. You'll activate your Ceredra, activate a Sorbin one more time. One thing to keep in mind is I actually did not change my gears for Sorbin, so if you do want to use Sorbin for Phainon, you can just go for a 4-time HP main stat because you're never going to see the birds ever again, right? And also, realistically, E1 Sorbin does absolutely nothing for Phainon because the moment you use Phainon, none of the birds will ever appear, which means all of the recorded true damage will never take place, especially if you use Phainon with Cyrene. If you do not use Cyrene, then that's still going to be a different case, but I would say this is still going to be by far the strongest Phainon team for now. Just know that between E0 and E1, there's virtually 0 difference running him with Sorbin, right? So at this point, we're going to pull about Phainon. If you also want to, you could consider running a 4-piece Sacrados for Sorbin so that Phainon can get a 36% crit damage buff, which is pretty much going to be permanent the entire time. Right now, we're going to let this go right here. I could have let go of a Cyrene Ultimate, but I chose not to because I kind of want to store out my damage a little bit more. So you can see over here, I have a lot of action value remaining, so I intentionally did not let go of my E. So I just want to make use of my taunt as well as basics to waste a little bit of action value so I can squeeze in the Castorice transformation for a little bit more AoE against Evil Firefly. But you can see over here, our damage is still going to be relatively substantial, so this is going to be a decent amount. Didn't really hit 100% crit with our gears, but it is what it is, and I'm just looking at all of the bars, very good amount. You guys can't see, it's like 28 different bars all at the same time. So for this particular hit, I actually believe I went for the E. Yep, because there actually isn't enough damage to kill both of the goons, or all 3 of the goons at the same time. So you can see huge damage. At this point, we are just gonna try to slowly use our basic attack to let go of this entire fight right here, while also stacking on my additional stacks for Ceredra and my enhanced skill, right? So now we're gonna enter into the next fight exactly at 6 out of 6 and 7 out of 4. So the very first hit we're gonna go in, that's gonna be a whopping 3.1 million into another very nice 3.2 million. Then for this particular wave, you want to pull up Evil Sam so that he can allow Phainon to deal the bugs as soon as possible, right? So this is the only time you'll ever use taunt on Phainon. Then once you get this done, you can just go in for the bounce. Hopefully the bounce is going to be enough to kill the bugs. If it's not going to be enough, you can just go ahead with your taunt right like here, right? Then the rest of the stuff, once it goes in, your taunt will pretty much just do a huge AoE to just deal so much damage that even if Firefly, right, Evil Firefly, even if bro casts the respawn, right, if he doesn't heal himself out, it actually doesn't matter because you're just gonna deal a lot more damage anyways, right? So for this particular hit, if your bounce was actually good enough, you could theoretically bounce to the point where it will kill all 4 bugs right here, but unfortunately, I don't believe this was a very good bounce, so I think one of the buckles actually survived. So at this point, I'm taking a look at, okay, you know what, I unfortunately cannot really quite get a kill, so I am just gonna taunt them right here for the 5 stacks so that immediately after Ceredra hits 6 out of 6, I can combine this with my 6 out of 4 to let go of another enhanced skill. So even though Firefly heals his health here, it is going to be completely a-okay. So out of the box is a little bit, we are going to let go of 1 AoE, which is going to be our counter, as well as another AoE, and that is going to be our Castorice, right? So this is going to pop, and unfortunately, there was this one bug that was left 1 HP, so that was just super unfortunate, but this AoE will definitely get us a kill against Sam. Boom, and then we do have a lot. You can see I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different turns, which is just like way more than enough damage to get out the 0 cycle against Firefly. This is a super overkill, but yep, the damage with E1 Sorbin, which is exactly the same as E0 Sorbin, it is very substantial. So the cause is going to be shown right here, and that is going to be our E2S1 Phainon alongside with, I believe, our E0S1 Ceredra. Yep, this is going to be our E0 as one Saber using Sekirose, E2 as one Cyrene into our E1 as your Sorbin, which this E1, again, does absolutely nothing for Phainon, especially if you want to use him with Cyrene. If you don't use him with Cyrene and the birds come back in, then that will be a little bit more damage, but I highly recommend for this current setup to just stick with Cyrene because the damage is super, super nice. Alrighty, so this is going to be our last E1 Ezreal Sorbin showcase featuring our Mr. Free Guy Archer. Behold the bone of my bone of my bone. Sustainless setup using Archer, Rinto Saga as well as Sparkle with our E0 S1 Sorbin. So I would say this run is super satisfying as well because the amount of damage you're dealing with this unit is just absolutely absurd to begin with. So you shouldn't really face that much issue, especially if you want to do this sustainless, right? So right now Archer is just going to go in. I kind of just want to use this as a demonstration to see how much damage our birds are actually going to be able to do with a burst DPS to that similar of Archer himself. So we are going to break off the dinosaur very quickly, very easily, 1.68, and that will be giving us the kill super fast. And the rest of the time, we are just going to slowly stall in, right? Get a little bit more energy for my Sparkle, get a little bit more energy for my Rinto Saga in order to prepare against the Evo Sem. Now, one thing to keep in mind over here is that these two goons do have action value delay, so if any of them hit the wrong target, it will be extremely annoying. So for this particular wave right here, I'm just going to go in for the damage, right? Goes in for the hit. That's going to be very good. If you want to, you could consider stalling a little bit more, but I decided not to risk it. So Archer is just going to jump into the next wave very easily. So Sorbin will instantly activate her ultimate to pull up my Archer. So both Sorbin as well as Sparkle, they're kind of acting like action value advances 2-in-1, except Sorbin is just way more damage, at least when you want to compare this with a unit like Sunday, right? Then Archer is just going to let go of all of his damage. Very good, very nice. And you can kind of just see this Birb damage was absolutely insane. This is 1.85 million burst damage. So as I mentioned, the way Sorbin's E1 work is that the more damage you deal over time, it will act as like literally a Cypher ultimate, so it will tally. So over the course of the battle, if you actually don't use this bird in like wave 1 and you bring this forward into wave 2, you can see some very funny numbers like this, even if Sorbin himself is not going to be very high cost, because majority of this damage is in fact coming from units like Archer, which did majority of the work by himself already, right? So super nice burst from our birds right here, which is going to reset. Then Sparkle is going to pull back out my Archer. Now this is a little bit more of a speed tuning issue. So you can see right here, my Rinto Saga was actually too slow. So ideally, you should be letting your Rinto Saga outspeed your Sparkle, so that we can actually refresh our little ultimate as well as the follow-up attack. But luckily, we did have our Sparkle's ultimate herself. So with our E1 Archer, we're still going to let go of another 5 skill enhanced burst, which at this point you can see we are just dealing so much damage. I don't really think it is going to be that big of an issue later on towards the final hit. So there's going to be 6% remaining. Rinto Saga, I'm just going to let go of the enhanced skill, and that will be giving us the 0 cycle. If this was not enough, then the birds as well as Sparkle will definitely give us enough damage to kill this set, right? So the damage right now is definitely going to be sufficient. Once again, just a very straightforward HP check kind of boss, so nothing too crazy. Just want to show you guys the damage, right? So the build over here is going to be our E1 S1 Archer using our classic 4-piece quantum. I literally just slapped on the default gears from the game, so it's just really just not very high quality. Default gears for Rinto Saga, 4-piece Eagle with DDD on our E0 S0 Sparkle, as well as the same E1 S0 Sorbin. So with these 3 E1 S0 out of the way, I'm just going to be jumping into my last 3 0 cycles, and that will be featuring, in my personal opinion, the strongest E2 support in the entire game, and that's going to be none other than E2 S0 Sorbin with another 3 different teams. And I intentionally try to use teams that you probably wouldn't use with Sorbin, just to showcase to you guys how absurd this E2 is going to be, even when using teams that are, you know, going to be a little bit more niche. Alright, so the entire time I did not showcase Evo Pom Pom nor Elation because I wanted to wait for a moment like this right here, where we will be using Sorbin as our action value generator as well as energy regen for Yao Guang, using the exact same team that the internet has been talking about, which I personally, after trying out for myself, it was just super satisfying. So you can see for wave 1, it is going to be relatively straightforward. We are just going to use our Sorbin's ultimate on Yao Yao to give her a much higher ultimate uptime, which can give my Silver Wolf a lot of value, right? So Yao Guang is going to pop over out right here. EMC is going to pop over the Elation skill into Silver Wolf so that I can pop over my Silver Wolf ultimate immediately. That is going to be very nice. And then we're going to take a little bit of hit in the sustainers, which can be a little bit scary, but it's not going to be too big of a concern because the damage you're dealing is still going to be far far more than enough. Right, so this is gonna come into 1.36 million. Tank a little bit of a hit. Luckily, he did hit the little bird. So if your damage is gonna be too much over here, definitely need to go for the reset, right? So right here, we're going for the Yao Guang basic attack into our EMC ultimate, and then we are just gonna be generating a ton of value with this buff for our Silver Wolf, and Aha Instant is gonna come in with 65 points, which will just be dealing absolutely insane amount of damage against the enemy targets, so that later on when we do hit 120 hit MMR, which is right now, we will definitely get the kill right here, right? So we instantly use our 120 cross wave transformation in the palm. You can see, oh my goodness, that is just a ridiculous amount of damage for our E2 S1 Silver Wolf, instantly bringing Pom Pom down to 45% HP. This is where it starts charging, but it's gonna see it's not really gonna be too substantial, just gonna be doing all our things as per usual. And you see 2 million damage from our Sovereign Birds, especially after adding on our E2. So we have additional vibes, additional defense reduction, as well as additional true damage for Sovereign. So even if we are going to be having something like, you know, the damage mitigation, this true damage from the bird is still going to be 2.05 million for absolutely insane amount of damage. Then Silver over here is just going to unfortunately not deal as much because of the split targeting from the other 2 mini pom-poms. Comes back over here, and then Yao Yao is going to refresh her skill. Get open this little hit right here, and then we do get off the kill, I believe, right here. Almost. Okay, unfortunately, not quite enough, but our Aha Instance will definitely bring us into phase 2, and our team is still relatively stable. If you find yourself struggling because of our sustain issue, you can consider giving EMC and Yao Yao the HP mainstead, so that we can save a little bit more comfort doing this sustainers, right? So Pom is going to hit us by a pretty painful amount. Then we kind of had to activate our global passive for EMC because bro took 2 many hits. So again, like I mentioned, if you want to do this with more comfort, consider running a HP or defensive mainstead, right? So Bobbin is going to be going for the skill because our bird literally died after the hit. That was the first time I ever see the bird ever dying. So we kind of have to resummon bro back again, but it is going to be fine because my vibes actually do not get cancelled. So on this point, after letting go of one of the stacks, we can then let go of our next Aha Instance right here, which is going to be coming very, very close to 240 hidden MMR. So this little Pommy is going to come in for 21, gets in the 1 final stacks, and with that, our E2 S1 Silver is just going to instantly obliterate Pom Pom right here off the face of planet Earth with so much damage left over, and that is going to be our E2 S0 Sovereign Showcase with our Elation flagship, right? So the team is going to be over here, E2 S1 Silver Wolf, right? And then that is going to be our, I believe, E1, I think. Okay, E0 S1 Yao Guang with very, very bad guess. In case you guys didn't see that, that was in fact a, I believe, 174 speed Yao Guang, because the early access server just doesn't have very, very good gears. So I kind of just use the default, getting over through it. This is going to be our EMC, nothing too crazy as well. And then finally, our Sovereign with the exact same gears for our E2 S0 Showcase. Alright, this next Zero cycle is also gonna be against King Pom Pom, but instead, we are gonna bring in a sustain instead of doing this sustainers with our E1 Huo, E1 Evanescia, as well as a E1 S1 Yao Yao. Now, for this particular fight, it is definitely a lot more challenging because obviously we're not gonna be dealing as much damage doing this compared to a sustainers, but I found that I actually did not have enough HP to at least play this sustainers comfortably, so I decided to opt in for the E1 Huo, giving us a little bit more of a speed buff in tandem alongside with Yao Yao as well as Sobin, so that we should be dealing a lot of damage to get us a Zero cycle anyways. So for this particular DPS setup, if you do want to run Sobin over EMC or Sparksy for Evanescia, you can definitely use Sobin's ultimate on Evanescia instead of Yao Yao, because Evanescia does gain the highest value from the energy regeneration anyways. So I personally generally will always just give the extra turn to Evanescia just so that she can get a little bit more ultimate and a little bit more energy for herself instead of giving this to Yao Guang, right? So now I'm gonna pull back on my Evanescia, then this is gonna cast another ultimate, and then we're just gonna continue on letting go of our entire burst damage. You don't really need to be too reserved, at least compared to Silver Wolf, because our very first wave of you guys have experienced, we do have a physical high-res enemy. So for Evanescia means, even though it's gonna be an Elation show stage, it will be super hard to deal with. So definitely do not spare any things back and just go all in, right? Because you absolutely can have enough energy as well as damage since we are going to be running a Huo sustain. So for the rest of the fight, we're just going to be trying to charge up our energy, charge up our stacks, and then just charge our skill points to prepare for our next wave. You can see our Birb is going to be slowly scaling up to deal a little bit more damage over time. And then from this point on, I am trying to think if I can save my Evanescia ultimate, because if I can save my ultimate, that will be ideal. If I can't, then it is what it is. So Yao Guang will refresh her skill right here. The bird is gonna go in, and the bird actually does not get a kill, so we'll take a little bit more damage, chip damage for the energy, and I'll let the Aha instance be the one to finish bro off. Instantly go into wave 2 so I can pop open my Evanescia out immediately. Unfortunately, because of the MrPokke, okay, so we do get ourselves this right here. Then our Yao Guang will pop open the ultimate. Following Yao Guang's ultimate, I will then pull up my Evanescia using my Sorbin's ultimate, because this is essentially 0 AV, where we're doing this everything at 0 AV. So once I pull up my Evanescia with the additional generation of energy and hits, then we can then cast off another 2 more ultimates with Evanescia for a grand total of 3 ultimates before Pom Pom could even move, right? And also another reason why you kind of want to give Evanescia the special guess, because Evanescia hits a lot more frequently compared to Yao Guang. And as you can see from the buffs, whoever is going to be the one getting special guess from Sorbin's ultimate, they will generate more vibes, which means we can hit 70 vibes as fast as possible if we give this to Evanescia instead of Yao Guang, right? So right here, we are going to let go of our 3 different Evanescia ultimates, and then this bird is going to be dealing an absolutely insane amount of damage at 1.29 million, leaving Pom Pom already at 22% before he could even summon his goods, right? So for Evanescia mains, if you want to deal this compared to, for example, Silver Wolf, you definitely need to squeeze in a little bit more speed tuning as well as RNG. Going off your damage before he actually places the damage reduction is going to be very, very crucial for us right here. So we are just going to go with our skill and then let go of our ultimate, and hopefully this will be enough damage to just at least get rid of some of the punchlines so that we can prepare for phase 2, right? So this is going to be one of 2, last 2% HP, and luckily for us, our Aha instance will be giving enough damage to get us the clear, and this will be the start of phase 2. And after he goes for the additional attacks, we'll be getting even more punchlines so that we can dispel this 90% damage reduction state as fast as humanly possible. You can see I'm not using my Evanescia ultimate nor Sorbin because I want to wait for the debuff to come down first before letting go of anything, right? So this very first hit is going to be 1 out of 2. True damage coming in for 500k. Whoa, over here, you can actually go for the base attack as well, just to give us a little bit more punchlines. But I went for the skill instead because I believe we do have enough punchlines regardless once I kill the other 2 goons right there, right? So right here, I'm just going to be going for the skill, right? I was thinking how many punchlines do we need, and I can't really even find my Pommy, so I just went for the skill anyways. And then after I went for the skill, I will be allowing my Sorbin ultimate to pull my Evanescia back up immediately so that I can start charging my ultimates right here. So the moment this ultimate comes in, we do have enough damage for our Pommy to remove the final stacks of the damage reduction, and this is where we can essentially go all in, right? So this is where you can just let go of all the damage. You wouldn't need to worry about a thing anymore, and we definitely have more than sufficient amounts of energy as well as damage to essentially 100 to 0 Pom Pom from this last 60% HP. So Yao Guang is going to cast an ultimate, Evernight is going to cast an ultimate. The entire team for the rest of the fight is just going to be really, really straightforward because we'll just be spamming our ultimates after ultimates after ultimates, funneling everything into Evanescia right here. Our Yao Guang will not cast an ultimate again, but you can see we do have 63 punchlines. On top of that, I have 1 more Huo skill so that I can cast another Evanescia ultimate just in case we do need it right here, right? So we can see Evanescia almost has enough for another 2 whole ass ultimates. So we are going to pop off 1 Evanescia out, and then if this is not enough, Huo skill into an ultimate will definitely give it enough for exactly the bare minimum required to 0 cycle Aloy Pom Pom using our E2 Azure Sorbin with Evanescia. Right? So this was also at 1% HP, which I think is just pretty funny. But that will pretty much be that for our Evanescia 0 cycle showcase. This is, I believe, cost-wise, it was very, very comparable with Silver Wolf. In fact, I believe it was actually slightly lower cost because we are going to be using our... Oh no, it's actually a higher cost because we did not use EMC, but we did in fact use it for sustain, so that is pretty much gonna be it. Same gear, same everything for Sorbin. Alright, with that, we have finally come into one of our final 0 cycles for this video, and I decided to end this off with none other than using Sorbin with our break team, right? Featuring our E2 Firefly with E1 Dahlia as well as, I believe, E0 Fuke. I think my error can just show the course up there. But this was a very, very interesting discovery after I tried it out for myself. So for this Firefly Zero Cycle, generally speaking, the run is actually super, super interesting, where you will always use a Sorbin's ultimate to either Dahlia or Firefly. You generally do not want to give this a Fuke, even if you have an E2 Fuke, because remember that the players with special gas cannot perform action advance for their own. So if you have an E2 Fuke's DDD, you actually cannot get DDD for the rest of the team, right? So you never ever want to use Sorbin for a Fuke, only for, generally speaking, Firefly or Dahlia. But I would say 80% of the time, always just give it to Firefly, just to see her deal absurd amount of damage right here. So the rest of the team right here, right, we're just going to generate a little bit more energy, stalling us in the next wave. 900k recorded for our little birds right here, and at this point, we're just dealing way too much damage, and that will be giving us the kill immediately going into wave 2, right? Then we instantly pull up our Firefly from 0 AV, at least as fast as possible. Dahlia applies our ultimate, and then our Firefly is just going to go into town with a double zoom rate right here. So this entire time, we basically kind of just ignored Bro's summons entirely. You can see Bro literally cannot even get a chance to get a turn. And you can see our birds just do another 1.48 million damage, because the Birb records every single damage taken from the E1, and with the E2, stacking our defense down, stacking our response, stacking everything, this is just gonna be looking a lot of damage happening almost every other turn. Then Firefly itself just gonna be helping us generate even more damage for the birds. Dahlia comes back in, and the bird's just gonna go back in for another 830k, and finally Bro is gonna be able to summon his little goons right here, which it is right before our Firefly's turn, or rather right after, so that the moment he summons and he selects a target, we can instantly pull back our Firefly and then just go back in against the Sam right here. We apply a Fuke toughness bar damage, so that our skill will definitely get a break on the other two bugs at the side, getting us a double kill, and then one more our E2 Firefly triggers. This will be a very, very strange and satisfying Zero Cycle done using our break team with E2 Sorbin, right? So with that, I've pretty much just come into 9 different Zero Cycles from E0 as Zero Sorbin, E1 as Zero Sorbin, as well as E2 as Zero Sorbin for all of the different cost analysis with every single different team that at least I can think of for this particular video right here. Builds are going to be as shown. I literally just stepped on the default builds for our E2 S1 Firefly, E1 S1 Dahlia, E0 S1 Fuke, as well as the same E2 S1 Sorbin right here. Honestly, the S1 is just a little bit not really necessary, but that is gonna be our Zero Cycle showcase. Except I have one last surprise, which I actually want to just test it out for myself, because I've been holding this just for you guys today, because I basically want to go ahead and activate and try this for myself, the power of a E6 Sorbin, right? Because I've been holding this all the way now, and I kind of just want to see how absurd this E6 is going to be. And I don't think there's a better place for us to showcase this Zero Cycle other than not a normally Arbitration King, but a normally Arbitration King Plight mode. I am pretty sure this will be a very, very satisfying Zero Cycle that we're going to be able to do using our E6 Sorbin right here. So without further ado, I feel that, yeah, let's just stick with this. And I think this should be a very, very interesting little experiment that we can do right here using our main DPS Evernight. So our dual support Sorbin as well as Cyrene is just gonna hyper carry our E2 S1 Evernight, and let's just see what this team is gonna be able to provide with us right here. This is literally my first try as well, so I have never really even seen this before. Hopefully we can get our first try. If it comes Zero Cycle Plight mode, then I will still just be really, really happy right here. So without further ado, let's just jump in right now. Alright, so for Plight mode, I already made the video discussing the Plight mode's mechanics in another Iron 2 video. So if you want to see how the Iron 2 mechanic is going to be like, kindly check out the other video over here. So this one, we're just purely going to be discussing our Zero Cycle environment, right? So I believe that the way we play E6 Sorbin shouldn't be too difficult. It is just that her ultimate can literally just stack twice now, instead of just a single time, which I think is just really, really crazy. So this instantly gives us our birds. So that will be the instant double board for us right here, because the moment we enter in our first state, this will be giving us a second ultimate right off the get-go. So I feel that for this one, we can actually just let go of our Evernight out right now. And then once our EV takes a bit of a hit right here, I'm just gonna pull up my EV immediately without wasting anything at all. And the rest of any of the excess energy, I am just gonna not really hold it that much longer. Now I'll pull back up my Evernight again because remember, we don't really deal that much damage at the start because of this skills debuff. So you kind of just want to hit as frequently as humanly possible, right? So we are just going to calm this right here and then just enough for another Evernight ultimate. So that was like an insane amount of Evernight ultimates right here. This goes in for a little bit of a hit, and then after this we can finally then activate my Cyrene ultimate. And keep in mind, all this happened literally before my Hyacinth even cast a skill, so it's just like, I think that's just a little bit silly. So first we're gonna be buffing our Evernight, and then once we buff our Evernight, we can actually pull... Okay, that was a little bit of a misplay. I should have cast my Evernight ultimate first, so I'm just gonna do that, and then we'll get this in. Then Eevee is gonna be here. And then once Eevee gets 21, I am just going to be casting my Hyacinth ultimate herself. Very, very good. And you can see I already have enough stacks for maximum Cyrene hit. So I will just let this go here. Okay, our skills are dropping down very, very nicely. I will most likely just hold on to this a little bit so that I can break bro immediately, which can interrupt his damage. Right, because he's gonna start doing his hits. So the moment his toughness bar actually breaks here, he will no longer be able to charge a thing. So that is where we can start dealing way more damage. Right, so this is gonna come in. We'll let go of one. We will... Okay, Evernight is actually really, really far away. So as a matter of fact, I am just gonna pull up my Evernight right now. And then we are gonna cast a skill. Goes in for the little Iga. And then Evernight is gonna cast this. And then right here, we do get the break onto the main man Iron Tomb. And once this is going to get broken, the bird is going to come in. 3.5 million damage, which is honestly really, really good right here. I'm actually going to wait for the vibes to reset before casting my ultimate so I can start charging for my next vibes. Okay, so now this thing is going to reset. I can let go of one Cyrene ultimate right now, so that our Cyrene herself can also deal a substantial amount of damage, right? 3.3 million is very, very nice. I'm just gonna let go of this summon. Mimo Sprite is gonna go. Gonna summon another Mimo Sprite, and then this is gonna come. Okay, Evernight is gonna be 15 AV away, so it's a little bit wasteful. I'll just let this hit. And then once this Mimo Sprite goes, I do get myself the Evernight ultimate, which is just absolutely perfect. Then right here it's gonna happen. Cyrene is gonna be at 26. We already have a lot of stacks from my out, so I'm just gonna let this go as well, because I don't really want to overstack on any of my Cyrene's love, right? So I'll just let this go right here. Very, very nice amount of damage. And then the moment we let this go, we are just gonna wait a little bit, right? We're just gonna wait 4 million damage. Gives us the energy regeneration, which is super, super nice. Okay, and then he's gonna start charging again. Oh, he cannot take action anymore because we already broke him. So I believe we have to wait for the next turn where he will eventually reset, right? So we are gonna let this go. So once the jellyfish comes in, I will immediately pull up my Evernight right now. Hopefully this is gonna be enough damage to get us the kill so that we can start our phase 2 right here. Actually, if we get an action very advanced from the gold guy, I would not mind that as well. Okay. So the bird is going to come in 0%. That is very, very good. Action, very advanced. Starts the phase 2. Gets us the Iron Tomb right here. I am going to pop this first. And then we are going to let go of our Cyrene love. I'm always going to be aiming onto the blue ball so that it will be a lot faster to remove the energy regeneration nonsense, right? So I will let this go. This is 35 AV, so I don't think I want to stall any longer than I need to. I'll let this take a little bit of a hit. That's fine. Okay, that's gonna action very delay. Because if that action very delay hit Evernight, it wouldn't have mattered because I would have just put Evernight back up anyways. Okay, so now my goal is to basically get rid of that. Otherwise, we'll be hit with a massive energy reduction, which is definitely not something that I would prefer. But we are about to get ourselves Cyrene support, which would give us the full ultimate refund. So because we are going to be getting ourselves a full ultimate refund, I'm just going to store this a little bit while, because I kind of want to maximize my action value here, right? So this is going to be 3.5 million. Full energy reset for Evernight. Evernight is going to cast her ultimate right here. Okay, so before the jellyfish go, I'm just going to let go of his Cyrene out for a little bit more damage. right? Because you really get a lot of stacks between the Hyacinth as well as the Sobin. So Cyrene herself, whenever her out is going to be close to 27, always let that go. I'll let this go right here from the Jellyfish, and then we're going to be summoning another Jellyfish. And then after another Jellyfish, I'm just going to let go of another Sobin. So you can see we are dealing a very good amount of toughness bar damage. So once we summon this back up, we should be able to get ourselves yet another Cyrene out here. Hopefully I do get a breaker, but if I can't get a break, it will be a little bit unfortunate. Okay, I kind of want to slow this down because we are about to get another full energy reset, or rather 50% energy reset for Sobin. Okay, I'll let that go first. Okay, I'll let go of a Cyrene out. Okay, I'll let go of a Cyrene out. Then this is gonna be a double hit. Okay, double hit. Then this will then pull back up my Evernight. And the Evernight will get enough for her out. And then we do get another out from Sobin. So our Jellyfish is going to come down. So we should be dealing enough toughness bar damage right here so that we will not be facing the energy degeneration, right? So this is going to come in. Sobin is going to pull me up one last time. So with perfect amounts of almost infinite action value at this point, we will prevent Iron Tomb from casting the nasty energy debuff. So we're going to get this into a break. That's very good. And then Bird is going to come in. And then over to here is going to reset once again. I'm going to save this R if possible to see if we can hold this out into Wave 3. Because Wave 3 will be dealing a lot more damage. So this is going to hit Cyrene, that's fine. And then this is going to start charging again. That's also okay, right? So for this particular hit right here, we are just going to be going for this. Little Ika is going to go. Okay, before Little Ika goes, I don't think we can hold anymore. So let's just aim it here. Because if I kill this with Cyrene R, the energy regeneration is going to be wasted, right? So I kind of want to maximize this a little bit more. Then we'll pop open our Hyacinth out. So that if we do get an energy regeneration, it will give us the highest amount of value, which should be happening once this bird goes in. Alright, very nice. AV Advance, energy regeneration, super good. Gets this in right now. So now I kind of just want to save my stacks all the way for phase 2, which I believe it should definitely be enough for us. Okay, 12% HP left. Cyrene, I don't want to waste any of the stacks, so I'm just going to instantly let go of my ultimate once again for 3.4 million. This is going to come back down, and then Evernight skill here should definitely get us a kill, which will bring us into phase 3 right here. This should be phase 3. Okay, perfect. Phase 3 is going to begin. Okay, the moment phase 3 begins, he's going to let go of the little bird. Okay, 4.75 million damage. Okay, we are about to lose our Sobins out. So I will be pulling up Evernight immediately right here. So we'll pull up, because we are going to getting another reset from this right here, right? So we have one good stack now. So we'll let this go for 2.9 mil. Get us this hit. This is gonna come in. I'm not too sure if this is gonna be enough damage to get off the brakes, because if I can't get off the brakes, then Creator is gonna be dealing a lot of action log as well as energy degeneration, which is very annoying. So we'll just let this go. I unfortunately do not think it is going to be enough, so it kind of is what it is. Okay, I do get that. Cyrene is gonna be at 24. Let's just pull up our Evernight right now. Okay, then this is gonna come in. We'll just try to deal as much damage as possible first before he finally has to let it go. Remember, the energy degeneration does not affect Cyrene, so you don't really have to wait for that much. But unfortunately, it looks like we are not gonna be able to deal enough damage to cancel out his out. So I kind of just have to tank this at this moment. So Sobin's energy should be all the way back down to 0. I'm actually not too sure if Iron Tomb's 50% energy suck is going to be sucking her to 0 or to half. Because technically her max energy is still at... Oh, her max energy is 280 now. Okay, so maybe the energy suck might actually just clear everything. I mean, I have no idea. So let's just find out ourselves immediately, and we'll see what's up. Okay, so this is going to come. Alright, Cinema. Big hit. Alright, that's gonna go. Oh, so it actually sucks her immediately. So it's like everything just goes off based on Sobin's max ultimate, right? So if this was a non-E6 Sobin, it would have only been like around here. So that was pretty interesting to say the least, right? So now we're just gonna immediately cleanse ourselves from the Iron Tomb debuff. Okay. And then we are just gonna bring this back up, heal ourselves back in. Keep in mind our Cyrene Love is gonna be happening 39 AV. Don't confuse Cyrene support with Fever, because these are like two different things, even though they kind of look a little bit similar. Bird is gonna come in for a massive 3.6 million and another massive 2.8 million, which is just a stupid amount of damage on the bird. So well, let's let this go. Okay, now he's gonna start charging his hits, but I think it should be okay because the blue ball is already at less than half HP, right? Logos is going to be at less than half HP, which is very, very good for me. I will rely on Cyrene support to give me the full value for the ultimate regeneration. I'll just first let go of a Cyrene out here. Alright, that is going to be a double. 3.4 million is very, very nice. This comes back down. That is very, very nice. Hyacinth. Let's use the Cyrene out to replenish our Hyacinth because this is a little bit more efficient. Then Hyacinth and cast our ultimate immediately. And then after Hyacinth casts are out, we are going to let go of a Hyacinth skill. And then our Cyrene's Love is going to give my Evernight full ultimate. Then this is going to come back down. Okay, honestly, we are looking very, very tight, guys. Okay, we do get an action value advance. Can we get the energy regeneration though? That is the question right now. I hope that we do. Let's just pop this in. Okay, bird is gonna go in. Okay, wait, before the bird goes in, let's just go for one more as I've written. And then Sobin is gonna be giving us the additional turn for Evernight. Because remember, the moment Fever countdown goes to 0, I get yet another Sobin out. So I think there is a possibility for us to deal enough damage on this hit right here. It depends. Because our skill is just gonna be not that high. So let's slow this down. Okay, after this goes, Fever countdown is gonna stop. I'll let go of one more Cyrene Love. Okay, 16% HP. I have to pull back out my Evernight. Okay, Evernight, we are just gonna cast our skill. Okay, Jellyfish is gonna hit that. I'm gonna let the Jellyfish go. And then I'll let go of one last Jellyfish out. Oh my god, it's actually so close. 6% HP. Then Jellyfish is gonna hit. One. Okay, if this does not kill, I hope Cyrene out-kills. I think that would be really, really cinema. To end off this entire fight with one final Cyrene out. Alright, so I'm just gonna press this. If this ain't enough. Oh! And there it is. With that, we are gonna come to the end of our first try 0 cycle Plight mode using our E6 Sobin with our brand new Mimo Store flagship. I think that is absolutely fucking disgusting. This E6 is just genuine. I have no idea what the hell they're doing. It is absolutely absurd in terms of damage amplification. So this is actually done with an E2S1 Evernight with a E1S1 Hyacinth as well as a E2S1 Cyrene. So the only E6 here was done with Sobin. So this was for a Plight mode clear. I would say this is relatively very, very low cost compared to the general like 48 cost kind of showcase. But with that, we are gonna come into the end of our Sobin 0 cycle video with 10 different teams at different cost analysis, different islands, different ending. I genuinely, in case you guys can't tell, I had a lot of fun playing with Sobin in the early access server. Time now is gonna be 3:35. I am gonna be doing one last surprise video. And there it is. I'll do one last surprise video for you guys for Sobin, and that will be my experience in early access. With that, word of the day is gonna be 3. Join Discord. Use code POKE, your 10% off gamer subs. All the best for our gacha pools, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, right? Heck yeah.